Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another great, tremendous, thunderous episode of the Marvel Retrospective. I am the Destroyer, Travis Snell.
I am the fire-faced robot, Dylan Musk.
That's the Destroyer.
Well, I didn't know that. That's why I said fire-faced robot.
I am the vain, cruel Taylor Field.
Oh, I thought you were going to be the frost giant Taylor Field.
That would have been a good one, but...
The Laffy.
You always say that. That would have been a good one. Yet you never said it.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Well, we're back with another MCU retrospective. If you don't know, leading up to Infinity War, we are reviewing and retrospecting and recapping every Marvel MCU film in order.
That we haven't reviewed yet.
Yeah, that we haven't reviewed. Yeah. So Civil War, Guardians, or Guardians 2, things like that. So there's a few.
There's a few.
But you can go find them on our channel right now.
You can.
So we're starting with Thor. Dylan, I actually want to start with you because you were, I'd say 50% of the ideas I had to start this because you hadn't seen, we were talking about Thor Ragnarok when the trailer came out. Yeah. And you hadn't seen this or Thor 2, or you said you'd seen...
I think I did see this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see it in theaters, but I'm pretty sure I saw it... I don't know, probably when it came on Netflix or, I don't know. I think I saw it at some point, but I'm not entirely sure because when I rewatched it just a couple days ago, not a lot of it was very familiar. Like, there was only a couple scenes. And then the second movie, I was on Netflix and I was just kind of skimming through it because I wasn't that into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is pretty much my first watch, I feel like, of this movie. It's the first time I really, watched it to think about it and sat down just to do that rather than doing other stuff in the background.
With a critical eye as well.
With a critical eye as well. And, I don't know, I didn't really like it that much. What? Did you expect me to like it?
Eyes open.
I think, for the most part, I just found it kind of boring.
Ooh.
I think that, with only like a couple exceptions, the characters were super lame and really boring. I think I don't even think it fit like the MCU feel. Like it, I was looking up after like who directed it, and I was like, I don't know who this person is.
Kenneth Branagh was amazing.
Well,
he's directing the Murder on the Orient Express.
I saw that actually, but other than that, I was like, I don't know any of these things, and like I don't know. I felt like it doesn't have that same feel. And I think a big thing for me is the humor. Like, I think humor is used sparingly in some Marvel movies, and it's used quite a bit in other movies, and it always seems like it feels like you're watching a Marvel movie, whereas the humor in this one felt like dated, like the jokes were they felt like pretty lame, like cliche sort of jokes, and I thought like the soundtrack and even like the special, like the sound effect of the effects and stuff was like just kind of bad.
Whoa. So, yeah,
I don't think it was. I think I was expecting it to be worse than it was, but I really didn't enjoy it that much, to be honest. Yeah.
When I first saw this movie, I remember when I was working at the movie theater and just playing, I wasn't excited for it. I liked, at the time, I was all about Iron Man. That was my thing.
You can like more than one.
I know, but I mean, Thor I didn't see how it really, bring a god into superheroes. I didn't, like, superhero territory. I didn't feel good about it, like, be able to really enjoy it. But, I mean, that being said, I still watched it. Didn't do me justice. But...
Didn't do you justice.
What does that even mean?
Yeah. Did you write it? Is it based on you?
Yes. That being said, watching it, like, I've watched it many times since then, and I watched it last night, and now it's actually one of my favorite older Marvel movies. I really, really like it. I really like the humor. I love the score. I love how it actually does a good job at having so many nods to the other Marvel movies, and just some of the one-liners and everything, nodding towards like Tony Stark and stuff like that. It does so well at bringing in Thor into this universe because it's such a different world that we get incorporated into ours, and this is really the first experience on the screen I'd say that humanity is having with otherworldly figures, I'd say. So, right. I mean, it had to be done in a very specific way. I mean, I didn't appreciate that at first, but now going back and watching it, I can definitely see and I kind of more appreciate the tone of the movie. And
it kind of does set up future for like Guardians, when that's just way off the spectrum of like the realism of these movies, I guess.
Yeah, for myself, it is one of my favorite MCU movies. That's why I gasp. It's in the top 10. I don't know exactly where it is. Maybe when we are done with all these, we'll do a ranking and look at them back. But I just remember seeing it, and I was never even the biggest Thor comic book reader. I liked him enough, but he wasn't one of my boys. And then I saw the movie, and I was hooked. I think I saw it 3 times in theaters. I bought it.
Really? Wow.
I really liked it for many reasons we'll get into. I think for me it was reversive. I liked how different it did feel. I think it does still feel like an MCU movie, but I love the aspect of it. Is always, I'm never a big fan of gods and superhero stuff, and that's why even with Wonder Woman and Superman, it's like, Wonder Woman Wonder Woman as a film did that too. I think these are kind of similar in that sort of vein. But I love this movie. I love that. I think Chris Hemsworth does an amazing job as Thor, as the Thor I know from the comics, and it's kind of rare in some of these movies for a character to have like a really big arc, and I think he does from the beginning of the film to the end. He's a different character. This gives us, I think, the best acting performance in any Marvel movies with Tom Hiddlston as Loki, and I'll get into it, but like, I think his scenes with Odin or some of the scenes with Chris Hemsworth, lots of these movies are kind of just like kind of buddy action comedy. There's some emotional scenes, but they're never, I really feel like, having to dig too deep into like acting territory, where I feel like Tom Hiddlston does that. He establishes a great villain. I love the action. I do love the romance. I like the romance. It's a little better than others. I like most of the humor. I love the fish out of water aspect of Thor on planet Earth with none of his powers. So I love the cinematography. The effects are great. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Kenneth Branagh. It's very much like his Shakespeare stuff. I'm not a big fan of Shakespeare, but I liked his Shakespeare movies. He did Hamlet, and I was a big fan of that. It really took me by surprise when I was younger. And yeah, out of Phase 1, it's like, not counting Avengers, like Iron Man and then Thor. I like it better than all. And honestly, from thinking about where I rank it, because we had seen Spider-Man Homecoming recently, I have to watch Spider-Man Homecoming again, because that was kind of tied a little lower, and I might have liked it even a little bit more than that. Like, it's a movie that I loved it the first time I saw it, and somehow every time I watch it, I like it more and more. And I think there's many reasons, and I think it was step time. And my favorite thing is the relationship between Thor and Loki. I think it does a great job, and these are one of the few examples of a great Marvel villain. He's the best, and I think they laid that groundwork well. So, big fan of this movie, always have been, and I get more of a bigger fan of it. So,
cool.
Where do we want to start off?
Let's start with, well, so I like the idea of, Thor just kind of dropping in on Earth and not having his powers. And I don't, like, I didn't feel like his performance was that great for some reason. So I'm curious, like, what it is for you that really sticks out. Because to me, it still felt like he was getting used to this character, and he didn't seem like, I don't know, I don't feel like he was that great in it.
I don't think it's as strong as performance as Thor. I'll agree with you there. I think the two things he does well, I think he does the humor well when he's like drinking and like the classic another, and when he's like, I need a horse. Like, I think he's really good at that. I think acting wise, he is still getting accustomed to it. I think it's more the character's journey of when you first meet Thor. Yeah. He's super bullheaded, super cocky, super arrogant, and through the movie, it's not just like, oh, he's like that, and then 1 second he's changed. You slowly see him.
Yeah, he gets humbled, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, when he literally, at the beginning of the movie, he would have wanted to kill, like Loki says, you would kill them all with your bare hands, and now he's trying to save the enemy. So I think it's more of a character and writing standpoint. I agree. I think Chris Evans is the same in the first Cap when we watched that. It's the same thing. They're still feeling it out. I think Robert Downey hit it the hardest of like, oh, he got it right away. I'll agree with you there. I think it's the character where it goes. I do think that there is moments where it's like, oh, okay, maybe a little weaker here or there. I don't think he's the best actor in this one. So, yeah.
Okay.
Taylor, you got anything to add?
No, I agree with you guys. He was definitely trying to figure out how to fit into the role as Thor. I feel like he definitely, like, how he portrayed Thor at the beginning was fantastic. How he was so cocky and just immature and just so, just incoherent with what his father was saying and not really looking at the bigger picture. And I really like seeing how he changed over and became more sympathetic and compassionate to others around him and just more wiser. And I feel like, yes, he was kind of adapting and trying to figure out how to be Thor. At the same time, I feel like Chris Hemsworth throughout the movie, you get to see not only Thor change, but Chris Hemsworth actually become more of the Thor character himself. And I think he just did a great job at the end of the film making that transition. But I loved how he was just so cocky at the beginning and just how, like, he goes into, like, the Frost Giants world and, like, his dad shows up and he's like, we'll do it together. And it's like, shh. He's like, his smile just drops.
I think there is some fun moments for sure. I do like the dynamic of him being there without his powers, and I think there is definitely some good humor.
I love the hospital scene. He's like, "You can't touch me, I'm a god," and he's like, "I know my," and they just give him the shot in the ass, and he's like,
and then he's like stuck, and he's like, "They can't do this."
Yeah.
I think I like the part when he's like, "Oh, you just gotta go like 50 miles west," and he's just like walking through like the middle of the street.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there is some good humor from him at least. I think it's the other characters for me where like
is it Darcy?
Yeah, definitely Darcy.
Yeah,
I
a lot
had
of
to
people
think
don't
for a
like
second.
Darcy.
I thought she was probably the worst.
Just wait, it gets worse in Thor too.
Oh, she comes around more? Great.
Oh, I like her enough in this one. I think she serves the role just well, but in Thor 2, she is in there a lot more and even more quippy a lot more. But that's what I was going to ask. What is it, I think, what most do you feel that it doesn't fit in the MCU for you? Or like you said, is it the thing of it, the aspect of like godly and different world that didn't feel right at this moment, or is it the tone of it? Like what exactly?
I think the tone would probably be the best way to describe it. For me, it was just everything. It was just the way things were shot and the way characters interacted and like I think the humor, other than Thor for the most part, didn't like work at all for me. And I don't know. I think just I guess it comes down to him not having his powers as well, and that's a very different dynamic from what we've normally seen as them learning their powers or Tony Stark making new technology and stuff like that. And I think the love storyline is something that we don't. I feel like for the most part in these Marvel movies, it's kind of sprinkled in the background of like Ant-Man or. Like I guess in Civil War, there's kind of like that thing going on with
it's not a main focus. This is the main focus, but it has a bigger role.
It is quite a big role in it, and I guess I just wasn't really that interested in it. I think Natalie Portman was okay. She did fine enough, but I didn't really. I found like I didn't really care a whole lot about her character, or what she was doing, or what or them interacting, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't find it super interesting when they were on scene.
A lot of your negatives I have heard from other people, so it's not, like, that's one where I've always been, like, defending, like, oh, I love Thor, but there's a lot of people that just think, let's say, I would think out of the four, between, like, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America, this might be on the lower tier. So I've heard a lot of people, like, lots of people bring up, like, oh, Natalie Portman maybe wasn't doing her best foot effort, and I don't see that in this one. The second one, maybe I do, but the first one...
For me, I don't know, I think it comes... She's just, like... this, classic scientist really into her research, and I just didn't really buy any of that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like she was just so excited, like, about these, I don't know, these space discrepancies, whatever the fuck you want to call them, space anomalies, and, I felt like it was an actress doing that, as opposed to, like, the character making sense.
Did you feel like they had chemistry when they were together?
A little bit.
Oh.
I think another thing for me is, like, Darcy and the like father figure dude, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought he was super lame as well, and like his just like being the character who's like, oh, you shouldn't be with him. He's bad news, and that was like all he did the whole movie. It seemed like and I guess there's that scene. There's that scene when he gets drunk with Thor and stuff, but I didn't really like the other two characters, so I think it naturally just brought her character down because that's who her friends are, who her family is, whatever.
Yeah, and you spend a lot of time with those.
You do spend a lot of time with them.
Then how did you feel about and then Taylor, you can go after Dylan. How did you feel about the Asgard part before we go on Earth? Because quickly before you guys go, this is what I kind of hope Thor 3 is like. Like, it's a minor spoiler, but because for Dylan hasn't seen Thor Dark World. But it's similar where somehow Thor ends up back to Earth, having to go to Earth. And there's moments in, like, different realms, but I really like the first chunk because I was fine with them going to Earth in this movie, but I hope in Thor Ragnarok, because it looks like we're going to all these realms, whether it was Asgard, whether it was going to Jotunheim, seeing these different worlds and seeing him, like, the actual fight scene with all the frost giants, I love. It feels very, and I bring it up in other points, like, it feels very, like, Lord of the Rings-ish, and I really hope with Thor Ragnarok, it's all, and I think they've said they're not going to Earth, so that makes sense, or maybe Hulk might end up back, like, the main story is not centered around that, so I remember the opening, I still watched, so I cannot wait to, like, spend more time in this. And I thought that's why I get the sequel. The sequel is still kind of more the same, but I love all the parts that are not Earth. I love that in this movie.
Yeah. I definitely got the Lord of the Rings vibe as well with that fight scene, especially when, like...
Especially the opening of the film, when Odin's retelling the story of, like,
and then, like, some big beast comes out, and it's, like, feels like exactly the same as like when the troll pops out in the Mines of Moria scene. Yeah, I think I found Asgard kind of boring. Like I preferred this stuff. I preferred this stuff on Earth more for sure. And I think for me, like one of the big things is while there is some really cool visuals of it, I feel like that like shots of that bridge was like, oh, that's like I love the look of that. But then it just like keeps happening over and over and over again. It's like the same.
They spend a lot on it. They want to show it off.
They spend a lot of time on that bridge, and
I meant money. They probably spend a lot. So like you got to use the CGI bridge a lot.
And they're like, oh, but this is the only one we have. So let's just use that bridge a lot. Yeah, on it, like I didn't really care much for Odin. Like I think Loki's great, for sure. But and like I felt like the gatekeeper guy. He looked really cool, and I was really excited for him to be really cool. But then I was bored with him.
That's Idris Elba, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know?
I didn't think about it, but
yeah,
I see it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I thought he was kind of lame, and I didn't really like the ragtag. Except for I kind of like the leader girl, but that's only because I watched what's it called, Blind Spot, and I like her in that show, so I kind of like her. But yeah, the rest of them were just like classic stereotype sort of characters, so they were kind of boring to me. They didn't really have much substance to them. So I think it's, for the most part, it's like just the characters that are in Asgard that kind of bring it down for me.
Yeah.
Except for Loki.
What do you think about the Asgard stuff, Taylor?
Yeah, I want to hear from Taylor.
Asgard or the characters? What exactly?
Both. What Dylan just did. Whatever you want. It's your review too. You know.
You know, I mean, I think Asgard was a really cool place. I mean, it was the first time we get to see like another world here for the most part. Seeing Asgard again, like rewatching Thor 1, it just has me much more excited to see how it's gonna be affected in Thor 3. Like I think the bridge was awesome. I think how they were able to
Spoilers. We are recording this before Thor Ragnarok because there's a chance that this comes out after Thor Ragnarok. We did this so Dylan and Tyler could see those before Thor Ragnarok, so I'm not sure. But there's a chance we already know how it looks like.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Check out our review on the channel if it's there.
Yes.
I'm sure we all loved it.
But I think like his ragtag team of
Warriors 3.
Warriors 3, yeah.
Warriors 3.
They were interesting. Like you said, they're just generic stereotypes and all that stuff. I think Loki was really, really fantastic. I think between this and Avengers, I feel like how he acts and just how well Tom delivers in his like first name, yeah.
Are you guys dating or something? What's that?
I want, but he's.
I want Tom.
You're like Austin Powers. I want.
But yeah, I think he really delivers an amazing performance in both those films.
Non Thor Dark World.
He's okay, but I don't feel like he lives up to like I feel like what he was given, like he did a great job, but he wasn't given like a great amount of stuff to work with. I feel like. At least not as much as he was with Thor 1. But what are the characters? Like Odin, I enjoyed him. I thought it was very interesting, like the way he opened up and was just narrating and telling a story with him and the Frost Giants. I thought it was fantastic. And then, what are their characters? I mean, what was the Frost Giants' king name?
Laffy.
Laffy.
I think it was really cool.
Taffy.
Laffy Taffy? Yeah.
Laffy Taffy?
There you go.
Don't call me that.
I thought he was very cool. I mean, the Frost Giants were...
Hey!
Oh, yeah! I like that.
You said it.
It's your joke. He didn't set that up.
I wish there was a point I wanted to make and I can't freaking remember it.
Frost Giants, Asgard, Odin, the Bridge Defender.
Maybe it was. It was definitely
Loki,
something to do with Asgard.
The mom.
The mom.
The cryo sleep.
The cryo sleep.
I don't know.
Cryo sleep.
Well, do you got it or should we move on?
You don't have it. Let's be honest.
Just you go.
Okay, it's because you brought them up. I brought my stuff about Asgard. I agree. Warriors 3, Lady Sif, they're all alright, but I've never invested in them. I like Odin. I think I do actually like Odin. I like him the most when he has his scenes with Thor, to be honest. I like their dynamic of the movie starts with him gonna crown him king, and then as the movie progresses, he's like, maybe that's not a good idea, and then he banishes him. I like their dynamic of he sees that he is not ready for this after all. And then at the end of the movie, because it's changed, he does say, "Oh, you'll make a good king one day," and Thor turns him down for now. And I think you see that journey happen. But I think now we'll get into like something that I think will be meaty. And he's had a big impact on all of them, primarily. It would be Loki.
Yeah.
He's still, and I think, I could be wrong, but if you go on our Dynamic Duo special, I think we have him ranked highest as far as MCU actors out of all of them. And I think there's a reason, because the scenes I use as examples for just the acting, I'll talk about the character in a second. The scene where he finds out that he is a frost giant descendant, and that scene with Odin, that's where I do like Odin more than the other people on Asgard, because I think, again, he has good scenes with Loki. That scene where he is just mad, and he's yelling, like, "Tell me," and he's like, "Oh, you're just gonna shove me here like a relic," and he's like all this stuff out, and like he's emoting, and he's like, Tom Hiddleston is crying, and he like, it doesn't ever feel like, we talk about that sometimes, where someone's acting, it's like, okay, this is there, okay, be sad, like, it feels like he's that character in that moment. And just little touches where he's mad and fierce at the dad, but then whoops, he's mad and fierce. He's mad and fierce. Yeah. Oh, he's mad and fierce at the dad, but when the dad collapses, he calls the guards pretty quickly. You know, so I'll get in the character in a second. And the other scene is the last scene with Thor, when Thor's like interrogating him of like, "Oh, why would you do this?" And you can just see that the progression of the character, and because of his acting, from he was really calm, cool, collected, he got upset, and then at the end you can see he's talking about madness, and you can see that taking over, because he's just so obsessed with, he says that he didn't even want the throne, he just wanted to be shown as equal. And the whole time, like, when the Warrior 3 guy, I can't remember his name, but he's like, "Oh, what happened to your silver tongue? It turned into lead." And all these people are constantly like, oh, one point he speaks up and Thor's like, "Know your place, brother." Like, they're constantly talking down to him, and so many, in Marvel and movies history, so many villains are supposed to be sympathetic, so you're supposed to get what they're going for, and it comes off as very, disappointing isn't the word I was looking for, but it comes off as maybe minuscule, their problems. It comes off as very petty. You know, where this, all the things from people kind of pushing him to the side, to not getting the throne, to being lied to his whole life, obviously you don't want him to kill innocent people, but you 100% understand where he's going. Like, he thinks he's doing what's best for the city, that people, it's never anything against Thor, he just thinks he says even the Warrior 3, like, he's not calm enough to be the king. Like, I love, and this is, I think, that made people fall in love, because Avengers, we'll talk about when we get there, even in Thor Dark World, his arc is continually changing. That's why I can't wait for Infinity War to see, like, what is he doing with Thanos. Like, and that's the thing, even my last point is, he's nice and everything, but like the scrolliness of when he comes to Thor after he gets the fight, he's like, "I believe, like, you're right about everything, about the frost giants, about the Bifrost, like everything." Like, and then he'll go to his mother and he's playing everybody. Like, this is those, like, we talk about our Spider-Man retrospective, and that's why I like Hobgoblin. I love villains like this, or Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, villains that are always deceitful, always have a game going, and it's like, he's like a Batman, where it's like right when you haven't figured out, he has other things to step forward. And Tom Hiddleston, like I said, I think he gives the best performance in any of the Marvel movies in this one, and I think he is phenomenal. He's fantastic, and he's like Magneto. I love him. Magneto is my favorite Marvel villains, because you get where they're coming from, and that's the best point. So
yeah, I mean, acting wise, he does a phenomenal job. I mean, you look at him in like Kong Skull Island, what a garbage movie that was, but yeah, he's still good in that.
Semi-charismatic,
and like that, even in that crazy fucking scene when he has to fight like dinosaur bats with a samurai sword.
Best in 2017.
It's a great scene, and yeah, I mean, I love the character too in this movie, just because we've talked about many times how MCU, or rather comic book movies, can have lame villains or villains that want to destroy the world, and it's like, why? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, this character has so many layers to him, and you explained pretty much all of them. But yeah, I love the dynamic of how, Thor gets chosen to, take the throne, and he's kind of okay with that. Maybe he wishes it was another way, but he's okay with it. Yeah, he wants that equality, and yeah, I think he's just such a layered character, and he makes so much sense, and like, you can just fully understand this character. And the thing is, like, obviously this movie didn't create that. Those are all things that are from the character beforehand, but this movie did a good job of showing all those things and pacing it well, so that it wasn't just like all of these things all at once, and it's like, oh, now he's fully evil. It's like, it sprinkles it throughout the movie, even has that scene with him and Thor as like children as well,
Yeah.
right? Like it goes, it takes the whole movie to get to that final scene as well, and then it kind of all culminates for that moment, and it's really well done. And then when you understand why he chooses to let go and fall into the void wherever the hell he goes. And I actually don't know where he goes next because I haven't seen the next movie.
Well, you've seen Avengers though. Remember, that's where he goes to next.
That's his. So he's not the second Thor.
He is, but that Avengers in the middle.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Did you watch the post-credit scene?
Yeah, the post-credit scene.
What is it again?
In Thor, it's just he's taking control over Eric, the doctor, and then he's just like looking at the Tesseract with Nick Fury, and he like walks into a mirror, and you can see that Loki's
I
control.
might have not watched it.
It's very minor. It's nothing big. Yeah, it's just he's.
I know better, but I forgot.
Yeah, it all makes sense in Avengers, but he's just controlling that doctor now.
Oh,
so.
I think you know why? It's because I think I wasn't a fan of the credits scene music, and I was like,
Foo Fighters?
I don't know. I didn't like that.
Really?
Song.
Learn to walk again?
I don't know.
I feel like that
I
song
hit back.
is
I hit back pretty quick.
I will ask you this, just because this is something I was thinking about the movie I never thought about before. Do we feel like Odin gave Thor the king because he felt there was a better choice, or because he wasn't a frost giant? It's never answered. It's just pure speculation. I was wondering.
Oh yeah, that's a good thought. I mean,
because I feel like Loki is better suited. I think that's part of the reason why he's a little piffed, because Thor is really like immature.
well, I mean, there's probably that. I feel like the fact that Loki's a frost giant is a big part of it, but I think maybe one thing is that Odin seems a lot more similar to Thor, and maybe he picked it as like, even though he sees that Thor is very arrogant and maybe a bit too destructive, maybe he sees like similar tendencies that he had at the time.
Yeah.
When he was younger. I don't know how old he is. He's probably hundreds of years old.
They probably age a
Thousands?
bit, slower than us.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that works. So maybe there's that dynamic. Plus, he's the older son, which is like the classic sort of thing. So, and maybe he just likes that long, luscious blonde hair as opposed to the little slimy black hair.
True. Before you go to, I was gonna say, while you're making your points, and again, I'll stress this multiple times, but I think that does another thing that makes him a great villain is you can see a clear divide of if one path would have went down this way, there's a chance none of this would have happened. He would have been on their side. Where sometimes there's villains that are just like, okay, no matter what, at some point he or she was going to be bad and just turn bad because they just hated the world. Where this did feel like at some point he could have, and honestly, you could argue that he was always going to be bad, but that's why there's a level of ambiguity there still of. It could have turned out all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're talking about when him letting go, I think that's him showing he says I could have done it for us, I could have done it for you. He wasn't selfish at that point. So, Taylor, why do you think Loki not getting the crown?
Definitely a bit of being a frost giant is affected in there.
Frost
That
giant.
sucks. What can you do about that?
At the same
he was
time,
born and he was abandoned.
And he was a little frost giant at that point.
Yeah.
A little baby frost.
At the same time, I feel like that was just a minor thing that was in Odin's mind to not let him be king. But I feel like he would have strongly considered Loki if not for the fact that yes, Thor is a direct descendant that would fit be born to be the throne. And then I also feel like, yes, he was able to see Thor being cocky and arrogant and all this stuff, but I also thought that he saw the ability in Thor for him to be able to apply himself to be very humble and be much more and be even a better king than Odin saw himself as, and just be able to apply himself on a higher level and higher standard than anyone else could have. And that's exactly, I feel like, yes, he didn't know the events would have unfolded that did, but he, at the end of the day, he gave Thor that option to regain his power, and I feel like that was that test, and I think he knew Thor would accomplish that goal by achieving that humbleness and that quality to get his power
So
back.
do you think him banishing him was to maybe teach him these lessons?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that was definitely a first new tread towards being king, and I don't think he doubted it at all when Thor turned the offer away of being a king anytime soon. I think he was expecting that, and I think Thor turning that down just proved Odin even more that he made the right decision and who he wanted. Granted, at that time, Loki turned out to be fudging crazy, but
Fudging nuts.
Fudging nuts.
This is
But,
knocking butts.
Knocking butts. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, because I'll do this also, Dylan, to see if you had any problem. For me, find that the movie's paced well, because I like that the beginning is the chunk of on Asgard, then we have the fish out of water that's very comedic, we have a more dramatic moment of him hunting down the hammer, and that doesn't go well, and he's banished, and Loki gives him that little fib that, oh, he's dead, and Mother doesn't want to see you, and then from that we get kind of seeing Loki's plan, and then Thor is Thor again, then you got the Destroyer, it goes back to Asgard. Like, for me, I guess that's another thing why I like the movie, because I feel like it's paced well, and I feel like the only slow moment is maybe right after he busts out of jail, when you have him and Natalie Portman by the fire and this and that. Like, there's a little bit of sluggishness, but they're just doing that, I think, more established to love. But I guess for me, that's why it's always felt like it moves at a really good pace.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I think I said this earlier, but the pacing for me, the big problem is just where they allot their time, and they do give a lot of time to the Threes Company, as well as the Earth Threes Company with Natalie Portman and her two goons.
Yeah.
And I don't like those characters. I think they're so boring, right? So when you spend, especially the three, Earthlings, I'll say. Like, they spend quite a bit of time on those characters, and I really just felt bored pretty much most of the time. Like, Natalie Portman has some good scenes, but for the most part, I wasn't as interested in those characters, and I think that's where the pacing takes a dip for me, whereas I think the pacing, like, storyline-wise, was well done. That comes down to Loki as well, right? The way they pace that is really well done, and I'm sure if I liked those characters more, then the rest of it would be in a good pace, because I was kind of bored, but I don't know, I don't think it was necessarily that it was, like, poorly paced. I think it was more so just, like, I didn't like a lot of these characters, and there's a lot of characters. There's like a lot of characters.
There's quite a few, because you're dealing with two realms,
And also, why is Hawkeye here? It's super lame.
I was gonna get in that because I had my notes. That's the thing that's always gonna bug me, because
this is his intro.
Oh yeah, I am a huge Hawkeye fan for the comics. I still defend him in these movies because I think he has some good scenes, but I always hate that. In Black Widow, she gets a whole kind of movie intro in Iron Man 2, and Hawkeye is just like this guy, like, he doesn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Like, at least have him take down Thor, because Thor's a human, like something, like, it just feels like...
when there's that scene of him calling whoever, I don't think they say Hawkeye, right, but he goes and he, like...
They call him Barden.
Barden, okay.
And
I forgot his name. But anyway, he goes to pick his weapon, and you see, like, all these guns, and then he goes for the bow. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm about to get, like, super into this. Because I like Hawkeye. Obviously, in retrospect, it helps because, what was it, Avengers 2, when he, like, you really get to delve into that character. And I really like him in Civil War. I think first Avengers, he maybe didn't get everything.
Kind of a raw deal.
Yeah, he's on the lower end, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I was really excited to see him, and then just kind of disappointed. Yeah. I mean, I didn't want it too long, because it's pretty obvious after that scene that he's not, like, intentionally supposed to be a big character in this movie. It's more like, hey, comic book fans, check it out. This guy's going to be in theaters near you next year. Check out Avengers.
It felt like that was entirely, like, filmed separately, because I think you could have had that exact same scene with all the guards and trying to take the hammer, and Coulson watching him without Barden. He doesn't do anything, so it was a little disappointing.
I can take the shot.
Yeah.
I got it. I should do it quick.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm cheering for this guy. Like, he's a little quippy. Like, and I was so excited because it had come out that, Hawkeye's in this movie, and they announced who the cast. And then when I saw it in the theater, I was like, I guess we'll get more. And in Avengers, he gets, like, brainwashed, so it's another thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so I think that's why lots of people soured on Hawkeye, because, like, you got this kind of, like, all, like, quick, lame intro, and then you had him kind of being nothing in Avengers.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of turning the corner now.
If you don't read the comic books, you don't know that character. Like me, for example, it's like, why is this guy here? Why is he part of the Avengers?
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, he's turning the corner now. I think when we get to Infinity War, he's going to turn the corner of death. But it's kind of a shame that he didn't have more to do in this movie. But,
yeah.
When I first saw the movie, I had no idea that was Hawkeye. Granted, I was much younger, but I had no clue. Not until I watched, like, even when I watched it afterwards, like, I don't even remember it, but I mean, last night I knew it was Hawkeye, and then it clued in when he grabbed the gun and then reached for the bow, and I didn't recognize that, like, for the longest time. But
it's like he forgot gun. No, I use bows.
Because he literally touches the gun. He puts both his hands on it, so he was strongly considering.
That's probably the first time in his life he's ever touched a gun.
I think so.
He just wanted to see what it feels like.
Yeah, and he's
Are they cold? Like, I don't know.
Cool.
But I yeah, definitely would have liked a little bit more of like a fight scene between Hawkeye and. But the only like the fastest, most action-packed scene of Hawkeye was him and that little cage thing just zipping up like fudging fast.
Really
unbelievable. That was like a ride at like Disneyland or something. I'm sure. I mean,
I thought you said a riot at Disney. I'm like,
total riot.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was there, and yeah, I mean, nods towards like the Avengers and all, and like the other characters in the universe. My favorite was when the Destroyer was walking up, and the agent speaks to Coulson. Is like, "Is that one of Stark's?" And Coulson's like, "The guy never tells me anything." Like that. Yeah. I like that much more than Hawkeye being thrown into the movie. If you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Hulk reference as well. Eric, he at one point talks about a scientist that was experimenting with gamma radiation.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do we have any other specific points we want to hit on?
I think the Stan Lee cameo was better than other movies.
Yeah, I do like it.
It's not like the best. It's no like library scene or anything, but it's up there for sure.
We should also.
I would love to rate all of them. That's what you're getting at.
I don't think we can rate all of them in every Marvel movie, but in the MCU movies we should.
Sure. Yeah.
So maybe our last episode of the MCU retrospective we'll do a ranking. We'll rank the movies, rank the characters. We'll rank the Stan Lee cameos. So I think that's a good idea because I think that was in the middle tier somewhere in there. But I like that actual scene of just everyone trying with the hammer. It's like they're like drinking buddies, having a good time with the car. Like I think it's a fun scene, you know.
Foreshadow Avengers 2. And the Avengers are all drinking, having a
big foreshadow.
Yeah, that's exactly why they put that scene in there.
Very rare.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these Avengers are just coming to the legal age, right? So they haven't been drinking before. So the other thing I wanted to point out, you know, both of our names, the Fireface Giant, the Destroyer, as you call him. I prefer Fireface.
That's his actual name.
Robot. I thought he looked really cool.
He's badass.
I liked that more than I thought I would. I actually, it gave me, it was reminiscent of when El Diablo in Suicide Squad turns into like that fire guy, and I was like, this is so much cooler than that movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love the look and like the face, how it just like exits and then the fire all spews out.
I love the sound too.
Blowing shit up, like,
Yeah, the sound when he moves and it opens and it's just like, and it's funny. When I was watching this, I don't know if it's on purpose or they're just like, we have these sounds. A lot of the sound effects from Marvel Ultimate Alliance are in these things. One time we'll do it beside each other, and I wonder if Marvel just has a database of like Thor hammer sounds, like this, that. Like it sounded similar times, so that's kind of cool.
They probably have like 100 different options for Thor hammer sounds.
At least. I do like that he just kind of like pimp slaps Thor, Loki.
Yeah. Unexpected.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I think the CGI is pretty good. Like he doesn't actually stand out of being that. Like we're all Diablo. It's like.
All Diablo.
Yeah. Hey, I'm losing my voice. So.
Poor guy.
Do we have anything else, or we want to get into notes?
I have one thing.
Yeah. Do it. This is the time.
I think that
you're out of time.
Between I think between Thor and Loki, like their stories are kind of like how they were parallel on their own journeys. Like with Thor, leading up to where he makes a horrible mistake and his father shows up, and like I said earlier, he's like, we can do it together. And again, like Odin's like, no, but then he addressed it as like these are the
that 3 scenes.
I love that scene. Odin's like, these are the actions of a boy and should be treated as such, that's just it. He's a boy.
Every time you do this.
That's one of his spanks he's gonna throw.
This is your classic. This is your classic hard ass father.
Yeah, it is.
But he addressed it as if, you know, Thor could learn from this experience and still progress further, and there was room to grow. And then alongside that, we got that, but with another kind of tone to it, with Loki being the same situation. Loki has done something wrong, but what he did was just really wrong, and I think Odin saw that there was no rebound or comeback from such actions that he did. And
Loki does technically kill his birth father in this movie.
He does, and I mean, what does Odin say? Or Loki's just like, again, like Thor, like I did it for you, like just preaching it, and then Odin's just like, no, Loki.
I hate that. I hate Odin after that, though. It's like, fuck you, man. You could at least just put him in prison and talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, he's at a point. Well, I guess he wouldn't have thought Loki would have died. I'm pretty sure he knew Loki would survive that.
I don't know. This guy is like on the edge of his life, and he's gonna be like, no, he's still talking now. Like, wait till you get him on the bridge, and then you can talk to him. You know?
Yeah.
Like, but then he drops, and he does like, no. So Odin doesn't really know what the fuck's going on in this.
Not really much of anything, but
not much at all.
I just like how they each of the sons went on their own journeys, and one was out doing it for redemption and to prove himself, while the other at the same time was trying to prove himself, but was doing it
for sex.
What for? Yeah,
sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
That's the one. I really like this is a very random thought, nothing to do with what you just said. But I really like the scene when Thor just like flips the table and it's like all in slow mo.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all I have to say.
It's a great scene.
It's a cool shot.
Yeah, it would make a great GIF.
Very good GIF. That's all my notes.
Yeah, I don't actually.
Buttons.
I will say that Chris. The other scene that I thought about Odin and Thor was great was actually the banishment scene. I just like when Thor. I think it's always like a dagger to the heart when he's just like, "And you're an old man and a fool," and Odin's just like puts his head down. Yeah, like sad Odin.
Sad Odin.
I do have to put this because my man Chris Hemsworth's body in this movie doesn't even look real when his shirt's off. Like it literally looks like it's CG. Like the way he's just built. Man,
it actually is CG.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because it's just like he has like muscles that have muscles. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I could pick, if I could pick like, hey, what body would pick? That's the one because he is like.
Oh really?
Good. Well, maybe, but like it seems like it's well proportioned. I don't like the guys that are like over like I'm huge. I'm always that guy that I want to have some muscle but toned. He's just all toned. Like he's like 10 abs. Like
very sexual.
Yeah. So shout out to Chris Hemsworth for all the work.
Kind of like Chris Hemsworth doesn't have muscles, but muscles have Chris Hemsworth.
Sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're so proud of that.
I wasn't sure that was going to go, really.
It went well. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I don't rate things. That's how you know.
There was tons of speculation that Big Guard that Thor fights in the rain.
I said Big Garth. I'm like, who's Big Garth? This guy sounds cool.
He's Big Clifford's cousin. I don't know. I'm tired. There was tons of speculation when people saw trailers and clips that was Luke Cage. Thor was fighting at the end. He's like that big, huge black guy in the garden. He's like, "Oh, you're a big one.
Oh.
I fought bigger." So there's tons.
That guy fucking fought. He was good.
He did, but I feel after this it won't because it's late. Tomorrow, if you have free time, watch the scene in the fight. Watch the fight scene that they have in the rain. It really sucks. And I have that in my notes. At one point, they're on the ground, and what is it? So if I'm like laying down and the guard's on the right, Thor literally just lifts his elbow and he's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's nothing. Like, he's not even moving. He's not trying to stop it. It looks so badly coordinated. When he does like that drop kick, it was like, that felt unnecessary. You could have just given him an elbow. Like, I think that scene in the rain is like not good at all. Like, it's just really like
it's a muddy disaster.
I want Taylor. You should make a gif of that elbow scene because it's literally the guy's just standing there or laying there doing nothing, and Thor's just elbowing him. It's like, who choreographed this? Like, what's going on in this scene?
That was
like,
one of the moments where the sound effects too for me were like, come on, is that all you got? You have all this budget. Come on.
Well, it's like in older movies now when you watch them punches are just like it's ooh, not anymore. I really like the hammer scene and like just even the shots of the hammer scene when he tries to lift up and it doesn't work, and just like it's in slow motion and the rain's coming off his brow.
I like when Loki tries to take Gander out.
Yeah, and he like almost looks around and he's like, ugh. But yeah, I love in the rain, and then I love when he just he yells at Odin and he falls to his knees, and it's just. They do this one bird's eye view because the center has like a hole in the roof. Yeah. And you just see rain and him next to the hammer. Like, it's very comic booky, and I love that. I love that shot. It's very good. Let's see. I love that Thor believes Loki in the jail cell, and that to me showed how like the relationship they have when he's like, oh, like the father died and mother wants you banished, she doesn't want to see you. And Thor, the first thing he says after Loki tells his whole story is, I understand. So it's like he trusts and loves his brother enough that this horrible situation, he didn't even question. He's like, well, I guess, and he even thanks Loki. He's like, I appreciate you coming down here to see me, and just when, and I like Loki's look. He has like, of course, like great color palette, slick green suit matches there, you know. I love the what was I gonna say? I love the helmets, by the way. Loki's helmet, legit.
Oh yeah, it's a true classic of our time.
And my biggest con, actually, for this movie, I'm a big stickler for it. So if you're a fan of us, you know this. I'm not a fan of final fights that are very quick. I think it's quick because the scene that Loki and Thor have talking is really long, and that's great. So that's why for me it's still a great scene.
Words.
But I wish their battle on the bridge went a little longer. There's some cool stuff. There's that part where Loki turns into a bunch of them, like versions of himself. Thor literally throws the hammer down. Loki goes back. I like the cleverness of putting the hammer on Loki's chest and he's stuck there. But if you time it, the fight scene is probably like, I don't know, 3 minutes at the most, just the fighting, not the talking. 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I could be wrong, but it feels like it's quick. There's some cool shots of like Loki jumping at Thor while he's trying to destroy the bridge, and there's some, like Loki literally does like this spin on his thing, and he turns around and keeps, like there's some really cool action. It just felt like we don't have the time or the budget, and especially just because if it's humans, it's fine, but just because they're two gods that have immense amount of power, I hope we get that. So something like with Thor Ragnarok we haven't seen, I want the Hulk fight scene to be quite, long. That's why for me, BVS is not the greatest movie, but there's a great fight scene because Batman v Superman, they fight for like 10 minutes. It's like, well, that's the title of the movie. Like I like long fight scenes. There's some movies like Man of Steel, they go on 20 minutes and you're like, okay, I literally fell asleep during a fight scene in the theater, so that can happen. But you got to find that good medium, and I think too short for them being gods for me. I always was disappointed in that. So
yeah, I didn't really think about that, but that fight doesn't seem quite as grand as it should, other than the fact that they're on a magical fucking bridge that takes you to different dimensions.
Yeah, I want something like The Matrix, like when he fights Mr. Anderson, like it's just like Mr. Anderson, Mr. Smith, like I want something like epic, and maybe we'll get that in Ragnarok, but that's always been my biggest
that new female, that villain, she looks pretty badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is all the notes I have for Thor.
Thor it. Mm-hmm. Cool.
That's it?
Taylor, you got anything else? You got one more thing kicking around.
Do I have one more thing?
Do you remember that thing that you forgot?
It was Hawkeye. You beat me to it.
Okay. Ha, take that.
Yeah.
Stoles Thunder. So, I guess I'll go first. I've said all the stuff I need to. I think it is similar to Wonder Woman, and I'm going to give the exact same grade. It's 8.5. And that's why I always say it's the highest B I could give it. I think there's little things, like I said, the fight scene, maybe a little pacing here and there. I could honestly easily give it an 8.6. I won't, because another thing, I like the score quite a bit, actually. I don't know. This is tough. There you go. I'm stuck. I'm really stuck, because it is one of my favorite Marvel movies. I'm trying, because I guess the thing to take down scores, I always think about what I really don't like about it. No, I'll go 8.5, because you're right. Some of the scientist people are fine. The Warriors.
Make up your mind, man.
So I'll go 8.5.
Fans are confused.
8.5. A high 8.5.
High. Not to make no.
8.59.
8.59.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't appreciate it at first. I think I was just too young to fully comprehend and appreciate it.
You're saying I'm still too young.
Yeah. Padawan.
Oh, okay, he is. I'm not. I appreciate it now, and I quite enjoy the movie. So I'm sticking with an 8 because it's I mean, you take your kids to it, they may not appreciate it or give it a high rating, but then when they get older and you take them to it, then they'll be like, that is a good movie. That's an 8 right there. So I'm gonna go with an 8.
Wait, let me get this straight. So you take your kids to the movie, okay, and they see in there. They don't give it a high rating because, kids don't rate movies. But then you take them back to see it later, so it's back in theaters now. So this movie's back in theaters and you take them to go see it again? Oh, okay. That's bizarre scenario. I can't picture that happening in this world. Really.
Well, I mean, we have movies like, what was that, one that was in the...
Alien Covenant.
They put movies all the time. What if they What if they did that before Infinity War, so you could see it happen?
Well, that would be pretty cool.
The triple threat?
Yeah.
What if they do that for Thor Ragnarok, special screen, you get to watch all 3 at the same day?
I wouldn't go against Thor Dark World. That's a tough
but you get Thor 1 and Thor Ragnarok. And you get Thor Ragnarok a day early.
And you can go to sleep or go get food during Thor Dark World.
Well, okay.
That's actually a good idea. If they do that, I'm totally down.
Dylan Musk, I don't think they are because they're already selling tickets. Dylan Musk, what is you don't do rings, but what is your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think this movie, as a movie, regardless of MCU stuff, it's just fairly average movie. I think there's a couple really good characters with some really good moments, and there's some really good fight scenes, but then there's also some, like, a lot of disappointing characters, some disappointing fight scenes. I really didn't like the soundtrack. I didn't like the sound in general. I just, all that stuff I said earlier, just, like, generally, like, I think there was just some weird stuff. And then the humor for me was probably 50-50, maybe a bit lower, in favor of the negative side of it. So yeah, this is a pretty average movie for me. Honestly, I can't think of off the top of my head of a Marvel movie that I dislike more than this one, but I don't dislike this movie really. It's just it's just on that. That's a really good thing to say, right? Like, that's how good the Marvel movies have been. Granted that, I mean, that'll change when I rewatch all of the earlier ones that I haven't seen in many years, right? So yeah, that's for right now. Honestly, it's probably chilling at the bottom, but it'll probably change. Might change. We'll see.
Well, Taylor, where can they find us chilling with all our other podcasts, including the Marvel MCU Retros?
Well, I have one question for you. What is the name of their teleporting device?
The
Bifrost.
The Bifrost.
Bifrost.
Well, you guys can use your Bifrost to connect to that internet connection, and you will find.
That's not the easy one.
If you have one, like, you could probably use it for cooler things.
You could actually explore the GeekVerse with that Bifrost.
You could teleport into this room and join us for a
You
podcast.
can download porn and not get any viruses.
With the Bifrost.
With the Bifrost.
What do you think Hemdell's doing up there all the time? He ain't watching people.
He's watching some weird ass anime porn. Weird stuff.
Stanley's all cameoing all now.
No gloves on.
No gloves on, yeah. But yeah, check us out in the search bar. We are. You gotta go on your Facebook. That's the main thing. On your Facebook search bar, you gotta type in GeekVerse Space Podcast, because we got tons of awesome fudging shite, and it's great. We got just the content. We got these retrospectives, like,
all right, Darcy.
Like, we got, like, we're doing Thor right now. This is fantastic.
We did Thor. We're not.
We did Thor, and we're gonna be doing Thor too, because we got to.
That's not next though.
It's not next.
Next is Captain America.
Next is Captain America. And what have we done already? Because I'm drawing a blank here.
We've done Iron Man. We've done the Incredible Hulk. We've done Iron Man 2.
Okay, those were really good. And I remember those now. They were fantastic. You gotta check those out.
Okay. And then I actually think more importantly, you could just go to Google and write GeekVerse Podcast, because you know what? You could find everything from our website that has all info, the Facebook, the Twitter. Please like and subscribe there so you can see all our social media posts, so we can give you updates or some fun announcements here and there. Go to YouTube and Twitch for our video version, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbay, Stitcher Radio, anywhere a podcast is available. If it's not available on a platform you like, you tell us and we'll get it there. Please support us on Patreon, because you can get episodes like this, the Netflix and Fail, Spider-Man Retro. There's episodes that you can get weeks early, sometimes even months early.
Years.
Wow, Taylor really needs to be out of here.
Years.
Did I say years?
No, but
decades.
Wow, you have to be out of here soon.
No, it's getting a little chilly in here. Just wanna.
He literally said to me,
frosty.
he was wearing a big jacket. I'm like, oh, is it cold there? He's like, no, just windy. And I feel like that would make you cold.
The wind affects the temperature.
Yeah. But more importantly, like I said, go to Patreon. Please give us any spirit change. You can look at the floor. There's probably $1.
Spirit change?
Spirit change.
I like spirit change better.
That's a mod in a video game or something. You see, there's just $1 laying on the ground. You could use that dollar for great quality content. We can get new cameras. We can get new shows. We can get me a voice box so I sound normal again. And if you don't want to do that, if you just want to support us for free, please like our stuff, subscribe, ratings, reviews. That helps us grow. That helps us get the word out there and spreads the geek love. Thank you very much for tuning in.
And we'll see you in the post-credit scene.
There you go. That was good.
There you go. What is our outro for this series?
Ooh.
We'll
avenge you later.
I honestly thought of that in my head just now. That's bad though.
We'll avenge you next time. Are ours good though?
What's that?
Are our outros good though?
They are in their own way, but that's just lazy. I'll avenge you later. Like come on.
Well, I'll see you later.
We need something. Taylor, what do you got? You're usually good at this kind of stuff.
Until the end credits, we'll see you next time.
Until the post-credit scene.
Have a good infinity.